Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Manxiety Podcast.
We're your hosts, Ashad and Matt. Before we get started, if you're enjoying this show, please subscribe so you can get notified of new episodes.
If you want to share this with your friends, you can find us on all podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
This week, we'll be giving you guys a lesson on the Greek alphabet, while also talking about the new COVID variant. Yay! This week's variant is the Omicron variant. Omicron, as some of you may know, is the nth letter of the alphabet in the Greek alphabet. I say nth because I don't know which letter it is. Matt, you want to help me out there?
Isn't it? There's less, right? So I don't know what it is either. I just know that it's the equivalent of the alphabet that we know and love for O, as in, oh shit, not another one, here we go again.
Yep, pretty much. We haven't talked about COVID, and I mean, we've kind of mentioned it here and there, but like we haven't had a full episode on COVID since the last variant, which was Delta. So I don't really know what happened between Delta and Omicron, because there's a whole... Here, I'll tell you which letter of the alphabet it was. 4, 8, 12. It's the 14th letter of the alphabet, okay? It's the 14th letter of the Greek alphabet. Delta is the 4th letter of the Greek alphabet. So we skipped 10 letters. So I have no clue what happened with the epsilon variant, the eta, the gamma.
Well, all of them,
iota,
all of the variants get a name. This is
kappa, lambda, mu, nu.
This is just the first one that's popped up that has become an issue, or like a variant of concern is what they're calling it. So that's why like everybody knows the name, because they're like, this one is the one to pay attention to. All those other ones in between, they were like, not a big deal. Like nobody gives a shit about these letters.
I guess what I was saying is I didn't even hear about most of it. Like I didn't hear about, actually I guess I did kind of hear about a lambda variant. I don't remember a kappa variant.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I didn't hear.
No, I mean, I'm sure. I know what you're saying is right.
I also haven't been paying attention. We should also say that we're recording this a little bit before Monday. Usually record closer to Monday. So if something drastically changes before this gets released and they name it some other shit, well then, our bad.
No, we usually record before Monday. Even longer before Monday.
Oh, fuck, you're right. Oh, my God.
This time we're actually closer to the date of release.
I don't know what day of the week. Oh, okay. Yep.
Sorry, guys. No. We're obviously now we're giving you guys a view of what happens behind the scenes. We didn't even give you guys a behind the scenes pass. Look at that. Lucky you all.
Little BTS for everybody at home here.
But yeah, I mean, Omicron variant is apparently coming strong and hard. Something interesting I actually didn't know this, but something interesting that I found out today while reading something online was that, you know, there's a lot of news stories about, the Omicron variant that came from South Africa, right? And like Omicron that spread from South Africa and like all this stuff. But I was reading something today that was talking about how like it didn't necessarily start there. It's just like that's the first place it was like sequenced, right? Like the first people to sequence were people in South Africa, and that's why everyone's like, oh, like it's from South Africa. But like the variant has been around like other countries as well. They were just the first people to actually sequence it, which I found pretty interesting because I always thought anytime they said, you know, X variant from this country, it was always because it started in that country, but that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, well, you know, the Spanish flu didn't start in Spain. That's just what they called it. I don't know why. I just remember I was reading an article where they said that it didn't actually start in Spain, and they call it the Spanish flu.
Interesting.
Yeah. So shit can come from anywhere, but yeah, that's a good point. Like now, because I know like they a lot of places are restricting travel to South Africa due to it being sequenced there and all this other stuff, but I think it's just they need a name to call it by something, which is why they're using Omicron, and that's why they use the Greek letters instead of calling it, because for a while it was like the UK variant or the India variant, right? They didn't want like countries to be associated with it, so people didn't have a reason to basically to go out and commit crimes against fucking people from that area, right?
Right.
If they call it like the South African variant, and you see somebody at work or I don't know, in your social circle South African, you might be like, yo, bro, why'd you fucking cause this variant or some shit, right? Something that doesn't make any sense. But that's just how some people work. And that's probably why they were like, let's stick to something a little bit more anonymous. You know, let's hate on all the Greece because let's pick Greek letters, but that's okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like there's so many things that go off of Greek letters that isn't from Greece, so it doesn't really matter. It looks like the Spanish flu actually, they called it the Spanish flu. It was technically the 1918 flu or whatever. But they called it the Spanish flu because it was during the war, and the bigger country, or like all the countries that were in the war, didn't want to report on it because they didn't want morale to drop even lower because they were in war. But Spain was neutral during World War I, and so Spain was technically the first country that was reporting cases of the flu, and so it became the Spanish flu, which I guess is kind of like these variants, right? Like I said, this one, you know, South Africa is the first one that sequenced it and started talking about it, and that's why they're saying it's the Omicron variant from South Africa or of South Africa or whatever. But yeah, it's, you know, I feel like the last couple months have been pretty chill, especially since, you know, I got vaccinated. Like a lot of my family is actually now vaccinated, like not my parents and stuff, but like just like friends and cousins and stuff like that have been vaccinated at this point. So everyone's been like, we've all been pretty chill, you know, been hanging out. Things have been like kind of back to normal. So it is kind of unnerving to hear about a new variant that they don't know yet, but they're saying can potentially, you know, the vaccine may not work as well on this variant, but they just don't know yet. And having to think about, you know, potentially having to lock down again or do social distancing, which is fine, right? I mean, I think we've all had enough practice in 2020, so it shouldn't be a big deal to spend a couple weeks indoors again. But it does kind of suck that, you know, it may have to happen again. You know, for some people, and we talked about this before, this kind of was like, you know, there have been so many mental health issues with COVID that this might trigger some people to sort of like PTSD, right? Like sort of trigger them because there's like a pattern to like, you know, this new variant is emerging, it's affecting people, you know, people are dying again, like all this stuff is happening, and it feels kind of like a repeat of what happened before.
Yeah, I think the fear that comes with like this being like another step, another hurdle, another shot, another this, another whatever, is that if it becomes endemic, so not pandemic but endemic, where it's, you know, to a specific place or region, essentially being like it just never goes away in the U.S. Kind of like the flu, how like the flu happens every year. You maybe get a flu shot, maybe don't. Same shit always applies, right? Wash your hands. If somebody's coughing, stay the fuck away from them. If you're about to go on a trip and they're coughing in your lab, spray Lysol on their face. Just kidding. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I wanted to. These fucking idiots. I mean, this was pre-COVID, and I was worried about it because I was taking a trip, and I was like, I don't want to be sick. But if that was the case, then it's like, at what point does it end? And obviously, one of the ways... I mean, I don't know, man. It's just like so many things regarding it initially, because it's like if we had just stopped travel during the first bit of it, we could have actually quarantined regions and done whatever, right? It's like essential travel makes sense, right? Shipping containers make sense, all that stuff. But it's like, I don't know, because one of the people that just got it from, I was reading some article, I think some woman got it in Egypt. And they were saying she picked it up in Egypt, so she has the new variant, but she didn't go to South Africa. So maybe somebody was on her plane from South Africa or something, right? Like somehow she had to be connected to it, right? Obviously, she didn't like meet somebody at the source or where they first sequenced it and then said, now you got it. But she was unvaccinated and traveling between countries and then brought it back to, I think, Germany or something.
Right.
And it's like, I get you want to go do shit, but like, when there's a health issue and it's a big global issue, and now like those few little sparks can cause wildfire in communities. Because like if you're unvaxxed and you get this new shit, even though I mean obviously she didn't really know there was a new shit, right? She didn't know there was that new sneaker drop yet, but now she's got them. And now you give it to your friends, your family, your community, all that stuff, and like you're the cause of it. Like that's just a shitty situation to be in, and it's shitty no matter the variant, no matter the sickness, right? If you go somewhere and you get anything, right? If you get the flu and you pass it on to your entire family, it still sucks, right? If you get COVID, obviously it's worse because COVID has worse outcomes. But if you get anything, right? Now, if you get like, I don't know, fucking gonorrhea and you pass it to all your friends, maybe stop, close your legs, people, come on. But
I honestly thought you were about to say family again, and I was gonna go like, dude.
No.
I know you're white, but come on, man, not on this podcast.
All right, man, I'll keep it peachy. No, but you know what I mean.
Speaking of the flu, did you have you gotten your flu shot?
No, I didn't get it this year.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting that too. I just don't know. It's so weird because it's like, you know, on the one hand, obviously, well, I get it every year just because, you know, I want to deal with the flu, and especially with COVID around, why would I want to deal with the flu and COVID? But on the other hand, it's like last year there were so few cases because of all these new measures, and this year I haven't seen very many cases either. So it's like, do I even really need it? Because the flu vaccine probably isn't going to be very effective either, because we usually get the vaccine from the other side of the world, right? But like, because the cases have been so low, like, you know, is the vaccine going to work for whatever variant of the flu we have now? Because it hasn't gone through a regular cycle. So no, I've been thinking about that too.
I think, I mean, if you're in a friend group or your friends and family, and they are somewhat health conscious of sickness in general because of COVID, right? Like if somebody has, you know, the sniffles and they're coughing a bunch, like you're going to kind of perk up and be like, yo, you have COVID, right? So it's almost like because people, I think, are more aware of their own bodies and their own feelings, which can also be a bad thing in terms of the anxious side of it. But overall, that they are less likely to probably go out if they feel sick, in which case, if they just had the flu, they're probably less likely. They're probably like, oh shit, it might be COVID. They go get tested. Like, okay, it's not COVID. I have the flu. But by that point, because the incubation period is so much shorter, that by the time that they get their test results back and get tested and everything else, like they probably just feel the symptoms of it. And then you shouldn't, I believe you're no longer contagious at that point once you like break a fever and stuff with the flu.
Right.
So in that case, it's less likely to spread like wildfire. So I could see somebody making the argument to be like, I'm not going to get the flu shot because when I'm around friends and family, they're still taking precautions. They're wearing masks maybe outside the house, so they're less likely to even get it. But then, of course, if you have zero protection and there is spread amongst the family or friend group or whatever, then you may all get it because your body hasn't had any like flu or virus particles the past year. I think that's why they think that there might be like a resurgence of it, like a rubber band effect to say, well, nobody's had the flu in the last year, so if the flu comes up, it's like, are more people likely to get it because you didn't get a flu shot last year probably, and you didn't have, you know. So I don't fucking know enough about how the flu mutates, but...
Well, that's what I was going to say, though, because not enough people have had it. I feel like, I don't know if it would have mutated very much either, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if...
we get rid of the flu.
Like, right, if everybody was, like, universally masking and washing their hands and stuff, right? If we had done all that to prevent COVID, like, as a global crisis, right? And then by doing so, we eliminated the flu. That would be great.
Yeah, well, they are saying that a lot of like cold viruses, like regular colds that people get, those viruses, some of them have just been completely like not seen ever since people started, you know, social distancing and masking. So hopefully we've gotten rid of at least some variants of the cold.
Yeah, because wouldn't that technically be the same thing of like HIV as well? Because now, like, humans are the reservoir for HIV. So basically, if everybody who had HIV stopped passing it on to people, it would just eradicate it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, going back to the Omicron variant. So boosters think Pfizer. You were saying something about Pfizer coming out with the booster for it.
Yeah, so there's boosters available now. I mean, personally, the CDC.
Well, just like regular boosters,
Right.
but I think they were saying like Omicron specific booster, right?
Right. So there was an article today that said Pfizer would be able to produce vaccines targeted for Omicron, assuming Omicron is that what it is? Omicron?
Yeah. So sorry, guys. Matt has a hard time with saying Omicron.
No, I said
He thinks
Omicron.
he thinks he's a transformer, and he keeps saying Omicron.
I did not say Omnia that time. Play it back. I said.
But you said Omicron.
Yeah, because I still can't pronounce it, but I didn't use.
It's like oh.
Basically, we're both in a goddamn fraternity, and for years I've been saying Omicron. And when I saw all these articles with Omicron, I was like, these idiots are spelling it wrong. You don't know what you're doing, right? Because I thought I was special. And then I looked up the actual spelling again, and I was like, oh, fuck, I've been saying it wrong for the past 10 years. So, my bad.
It's all good.
But, yeah.
The Omicron booster. Pfizer.
Yeah, Pfizer was saying that they would need 100 days. Well, they would need 100 days effectively to produce and test a specifically targeted vaccine against any mutation. Because now that it's been sequenced, they can very quickly make an mRNA adaptation to it. But they said that they needed 100 days to be able to like get it up and running and test it. Which, obviously, if this thing starts taking people out and it does evade current vaccines, that's really great to see that we could have a much quicker timeline and a much quicker turnaround for it overall, because then it's like, okay, back to social distancing and masking for the next 3 months, maybe 6 months, right? And then once everybody can get it, or at least, doctors and high risk people can get it, specifically targeted, not a booster, but it'd basically just be a different vaccine at that point, to be honest. It's like technically,
I think it would still be a booster.
Yeah, that's probably how they would label it. But I think if it mutates enough, this is basically like COVID-21, at this point. Like we had COVID-19, we had COVID-20, now we have COVID-21. All right, cool. I can't wait till 23. That's the Air Jordan version. It's going to be great.
That's hilarious. But yeah, so similarly, I was reading an article that said Moderna will make a Omicron specific booster as well. I don't remember seeing a timeline, but if it gets bad enough, they'll do it. But let's hope Omicron doesn't get bad enough, right? I mean, it has affected some people. Obviously, it is kind of spreading, but we don't know how fast it'll spread, if it'll spread at all, sort of far beyond that, and what will happen. But I did see Dr. Fauci was doing an interview, and I think he was asked, what he thinks about Omicron, and he said that most likely it's already in the United States. We just haven't seen it yet, just because of how fast it's spreading. So, I think we just need to stay, we just need to stay the course and continue doing everything we've been doing to stay safe and mask up and social distance and all that good stuff, to make sure that this doesn't come and, roll back the sort of months of progress that we've made so far since the vaccines came out.
Yeah, it's definitely something. It's like what you said earlier, right? Where like we didn't really see epsilon to mu or to nu, right? So like we didn't really see those variants pop up and do anything because they weren't variants of concern. So now it's like, hey, there's this thing. We're looking at it. We're going to see what happens. We're looking at the data. We're going to see if the current vaccines are effective against it. If they are, great. We're happy. If not, there's a plan in place to target it that will roll out eventually, right, with Pfizer and Moderna. So it's something that I think if you turn on the news, it's going to be catastrophized one way or another, right? It's not going to be a variant of concern. It's going to be the apocalypse 2.0 type of deal, right? The real 2012, because, the world didn't end in 2012. And ultimately, it's like you're probably worried about it at this point. Maybe if you weren't checking in on the news and you weren't looking at COVID, like, myself and Ashad have been kind of avoiding that stuff because it's just like, it's just the same stuff over and over again, right? You're probably going to hear about it from your friends, your family. Somebody's going to bring it up to you, right? Like, we're talking about it right now, of course. So it's like, hey, have you heard about the new variant? Have you heard about whatever. There was a joke online that people were saying that if they had called it new instead of Omicron, that people saying, have you heard about the new variant? It would have been new, like NU, but people think that it's new, like NEW, which would have been hilarious just for like the comedy aspect of it, right? Oh, the new variant. The new variant? Yeah, the new variant. No, the new variant. You know, like even if 3 variants down the road, oh, the fucking 5 variant? No, the new variant. Would have just been funny to watch that. There was a slightly off tangent, but there was some newscaster that was talking about the TV show You, or the Netflix show rather, You. And he said, they had a measles outbreak on You. And they're like, the caster's like, what? Like, we never talked about it. She's like, no, it was on You. And she didn't understand because he was, he was saying, no, the show You. And she's like, we never talked about it on the show. What are you talking about? We haven't talked about measles. And it just made for this hilarious clip where once you understood what he was trying to say, it was funny. Because when you first hear it, you're like, I don't get what you're saying, dude. You're not making any sense. You're like, oh, the TV show. Okay.
That's funny. That's similar to when I think I bought something from the store Guess once, or like I was wearing something that was like from Guess, and someone was like, "Oh, like where'd you get that?" I was like, "Guess," and they were like, whatever. I'm like, "No, like Guess." They're like, "No, I guess." Like I'm like, "No, I got it from Guess, dude. Like got it from a fucking store called Guess in the mall."
That's great. Oh my god. Oh, that's so. I would only wear Guess from now on if I could just pull that off. That would be hilarious.
You can just to go around. Eventually, someone should ask you where you got that from.
That'd be so fun.
You got to get something from there though that's like completely like out there, right? It's like very different. Because if you're just wearing like a black tee, no one's gonna ask you where you got your black tee from.
True.
It has to be like,
maybe a watch.
No, like I don't know, like a blazer with colorful colors and flowers or something. Something you wouldn't usually wear.
Okay.
Anyway, going back to COVID. Speaking of boosters, we also haven't talked about the fact that boosters are now widely available for everyone over 18. Is that right?
Yeah, I think over 18. I think you can actually get boosters if you're younger, but because it hasn't been 6 months since they allowed like 14 to 18 and 5 to 12 or whatever the age ranges are now. That doesn't make sense because I skipped 13.
2 years. Dude, if you're 13, you have enough problems.
It
so
sucks.
They don't want you to worry about getting a shot.
Yeah, so I think they'd have to wait longer. But the thing I didn't like about it was that there was data that said that it was useful for anybody 6 months out to get it. But they only said, okay, it's available for people with underlying conditions. Now, the list of underlying conditions were like, have you ever smoked a cigarette in your life? That's an underlying condition. Well,
I think it changed, though.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So I think as of like this beginning of this week or end of last week or something, the FDA or the CDC said that they're recommending it for all adults.
Oh, right. Yeah. So initially it was just
Yeah.
those at high risk, right? But the dumb thing was they already had the data for saying that you might as well just get it anyways. So they kind of botched the delivery of it because they had said, don't get it unless you're high risk. And then now, a month, 2 months, however long it's been later, they're like, everybody should get it because we're going into winter and we're doing this. And it's like, hey, guess what? I mean, maybe I'm sounding like too much of an asshole here, but like, our fucking seasons don't change. We know when we're going into winter. We know how many months winter is away. We know when we did this. We know when we vote. It's like, we can see into the fucking future. It's called forecasting. Businesses do it all the fucking time. And it pisses me off when people are like, well, fuck, now that winter's here and we did not daylight savings, fucking fall back or whatever the fuck it's called, right? We did an episode on that. Go watch that about me ranting on my goddamn soapbox here. Basically, it's like, it's dark as shit early, right? People are staying indoors because there's Thanksgiving and Christmas and all those other things and other holidays, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and any other holiday I might have missed, right? Everybody's getting together indoors, having parties, right? All the shit. And New Year's Eve parties. And it's like, if there's a new, not only if there's just a new shit, but if it's the old shit and the old shit is still effective, right? If Delta's still fucking people up, well, then it's gonna spread, right? And it's like, if they know that 6 months ago was the period where your antibodies are low and whatever, and they should have told people before so they could plan for it. They planned it poorly, and it just pisses me off where it's like, if you have the information, just give people the information. Otherwise, what's going to happen is the same thing with the masks early on, where they said masks aren't going to work. You know, if the virus gets you, it's going to get you no matter what. And then 3 weeks later, a month later, whatever the fuck it was, they go, actually, wear a fucking mask, right? We told you masks didn't work because we wanted them to be for healthcare workers. But if they just said, hey, we need masks for healthcare workers, please donate them, give them, like, they're dealing with the virus every day. For you, wear a cloth mask, wear whatever, like, put some protection between your mouth, and it would have been much better tolerated for people, and it would have made for much more consistent messaging. And it just bugs me when it's like, it's like anything, right? I mean, I get there's red tape and shit, but it's like, oh, well, we know that smoking causes cancer, but we can't really do anything about it except for all the studies that are published. And you're like, well, look at the data. It causes cancer. Well, that's 70 years later. Why don't you just have a smoke and think about it? It's because there's money to be made and all this other shit. But it's just one of those things where it's like, we could have been better prepared for this. And I'm really glad that the science side of it, like the science seems pretty good overall, right? It's like, hey, a booster may help. They're going to develop a new vaccine for the new variant if they need to, right? But it's like the politicalization of everything and the bastardization of it is what bugs me, because it's like there's no consistent messaging, there's no consistency across county lines. Like, it's different in my county versus a Shots county. It's just fucking annoying, to be honest. I didn't mean to go off on this fucking rant. You were just asking a simple question.
No, I mean, I think part of it is, one, they were probably waiting for some studies, right? Like, they probably did a study that showed that 6 months later, for people with high risk, they're getting it. It's still kind of bad. Maybe they're not getting hospitalized or dying, but like, they're still taking it badly. So they're like, hey, you guys should get it. And then they were doing more studies to find out if that's also the case with regular people. And then eventually, when they found that out, they were like, hey, now that we've peer-reviewed this or whatever, right? Like, now we're recommending it for regular people too.
Yeah,
so I can see them doing that.
I guess I would just say, because like anybody that was a healthcare worker had to get their booster a while ago, because they were obviously the first ones that got it, right? So it's just like, when I asked my friends that were doctors and they're young, they're like, I mean, you can wait a few more weeks, whatever, but like, they're telling us we needed it because we're in the field and we're young. So like, eventually they're going to say everybody's got to do it. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, makes sense. But no, I agree. On all that other stuff, there should be some more. The messaging should definitely be more consistent. But at the same time, I also feel like, if the president said, hey, this is the rule, there would be a very big uproar. So they kind of left it up to the states. And in the states, if a state said something, there would probably be an uproar. So they kind of left it to the counties. So
right. And then if the county said something, then there'd be an uproar. So they left it to the cities. And if the city said something, there'd be an uproar. So then they left it to the individuals. And the individuals just do whatever they want.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We're at the county level. But yeah, eventually we might get there too. Yeah. Anyway, lots going on. I think that was all I had to say about Omicron. Just know that it's out there. Know that it's supposed to be very contagious. Know that they're still doing studies on it. So don't get too scared yet. Just take the right precautions. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health. Do whatever you need to make sure you're okay. Just stay safe. And if it's been more than 6 months and you think that a booster is going to help with your mental health, and it is being recommended, then maybe plan on getting a booster. Yeah, that's all for me. Do you have any final words, Matt?
I was just gonna say, don't panic just yet unless it's at the disco. Panic at the Disco. Ha ha ha. I thought about that like 15 minutes ago, and I was like, I'm gonna work it in some way.
Nice, you did it. I'm proud of you. That was very slick.
So there we go. That's my advice. Like, once we know more, make an informed decision when you have the data. Until the data comes out, I know they said to give it 2 weeks right now until they are gonna review the studies to see if it's worse. Just give it a little bit of time. Try to enjoy your your holidays, and just whatever happens, we're gonna get through it together. Hopefully, just spaced apart, but together.
Together, 6 feet apart, but together.
Yeah, we got these hats at my old company, and they were like stronger together or something like that, or safer together or some shit. And I was like, it should say stronger apart. Like, why? Because they gave us the hats in the middle of COVID. It was like, no, go away.
Funny. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you guys on Thursday.